There was a time on ancient Earth when the resources were sought out for use by celestial beings of extraterrestrial origin. These ancient beings have been recorded in many different ways throughout history and culture, but the oldest and first recorded evidence comes from the ancient Sumerian and Akkadian tablets. There have been many scientific validations of what the Sumerians have recorded. The practice of IV fluid administering, the planetary body alignment in the solar system, artificial insemination, in vitro fertilization, genetic manipulation of the genes of crops, also known as GMO, and the breeding of animals. The book of Genesis is a very short, limited account of the elaborate and deliberate creation story that actually resulted in the birth or creation of man. The origin of man, as well as the intended purpose of our species, is intriguing and mind-boggling at times. Warning from here on out: if you do not have the right amount of mental megahertz to process the true account of the creation of our species, you may crash, freeze up, or even block the full download of factual information as a means to cope with these raw facts. If you're a member of a religious church, organization, or a strict denomination, please disable your mental pop-up blocker in order to fully digest this information with a non-biased, clean mental hard drive. There was no man to work the land, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. Genesis 2, verse 5. God created man for this purpose: to work, till the ground, and mine gold. The name of the first is Pishon. It is one which skirts the whole land of Havalia, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Bdellium and the onyx stone are there. Genesis 2, verses 11 through 12. So why would the sustainer of all things, the most omnipotent God, care about gold? Why would he care to mention the onyx stone, or any other earthbound resource for that matter? The Most High God, or the true source of all, is not after gold. This is a supportive point that reassures readers. The book of Genesis is simply referring to creator gods, a plural term. You can call them the Anunnaki or anything else with a little g as far as a god sense. But these are the people that are often mistaken as the supreme gods or the source by those who need to rethink. Genesis 1 through 3 corresponds to the more exhaustive Sumerian tablets account of the origin of man. The Anunnaki was burdened by the task of completing a great work for their planet Nibiru, but wanted to be relieved of the burden of toil. So they set out to create a primitive worker to mine their gold and complete the work. That was when our species, Homo sapiens, were artificially inseminated before being mixed in a laboratory dish into the womb of a goddess. One of the Anunnaki, her name was Ninti. The Anunnaki had figured out a way to create a being smart enough to create and deliver the work by mixing their DNA with a primitive being already on the earth. It could have been the Neanderthal or possibly even the Homo erectus, but what they did not give them was the full ability to access their full mental capacity, nor did they give them access to immortality, quote-unquote everlasting life. From the direct Sumerian translated text we read, they summoned and asked the goddess, the midwife of the gods, the wise birth giver, saying, to a creature create life, create workers, create a primitive worker, that he may bear the yoke. Let him bear the yoke assigned by an Enlil. Let the worker carry out the toil of the gods. Now we are sought to simply explore the origins of humanity out of curiosity and possibly even loftiness. Here we become perplexed of the truth and awareness and the rawness of the creation process and the created purpose of the Homo sapien. We also face the fear that we are indeed created to be slaves for some sort of overall purpose, but not necessarily one of a purely, supremely divine nature. The Sumerian term for a man is denoted as Lu, with the root meaning worker or servant, similar to the root word found used to refer to domesticated animals. It is noted from the Akkadian text that the term Lulu denotes the mixture of a man as a species, and note the mixture of the man into a species. This is why we have explored the concept of work and purpose a lot on the ninthmind.com website, because there is such a difference in between the two. Before one can understand the origin of human beings, they have to be aware of science, geology, and real ancient texts. If you're going to look at Genesis to give you understanding, you are limiting your revelation of complete facts. The Sumerian tablets give more of an account of creation, whereas in the Genesis, it is redacted down into one simple paragraph. There is also a synoptic gap in the creation passage in Genesis and a time conversion that also corresponds to the ancient account in the Sumerian text. Here we see a parallel. The 7 days of creation were not literally 7 days in our days in standard of time. 1,000 years were approximately 1 day on earth. So automatically we are talking about 6,000 to 7,000 years of creation versus evolution. When evolutionists teach that we evolved from apes, the Neanderthal, or even the Homo erectus, they are scientifically missing the target. If we simply evolved through natural evolution from those beings, it would have taken much longer than 6,000 years. There is no way possible that we have naturally evolved from either being in such a short amount of time. However, progressive evolutionists are discarding one evident point here: the possibility that the human being was genetically reconstructed or constructed by mixing the DNA from a primitive being already on Earth, Homo erectus more than likely, with a genome of their own, the creator gods, the little g's, the Anunnaki, in order to create a more efficient slave species to mine the resources from Earth as they needed. This ideology is in the tablets and on the walls in the Kemetic structures in Egypt, South Africa, and Mesopotamia.